morning, everyone, and welcome to this session on citizenship education, awakening society to embrace diversity. I am Yasmina Wiran, and I'm the host of this session today. I'm the founder of We Belong, which is a platform and podcast that amplifies the stories of the new daughters of Europe, as we call them, immigrant descent. Today I'm joined by my co-founder, Jana de Groot, who is, besides being the co-founder of We Belong, she's also one of the youngest elected politicians in Luxembourg and in Europe. So I'm very, very happy to have her with us to cover this topic. And we also have Leonardo Parraga from Colombia, who is the founder of Bogota Art Foundation, where he uses art to promote resilience and to transform marginalized community through cultural initiatives. So thank you for being here with us. And as you know, in our times, we live in a time where social media are a powerful tool for young people to advocate, to build change, to inspire action, but young people are also facing a lot of challenges using these tools, and particularly one of our guests today, Jana, you have been elected in such a young age. You were, I believe, 21,
yes.
And now you're 26. So you have been pushing boundaries and entering in spaces where people like you weren't seen before. As a woman, as a young woman, but also as a minority. And as such, you face a lot of challenges up till today, right? So we could start by this. So how was your journey so far in these past few years, but also maybe what are the main challenges that you faced?
Thank you so much, Yasmin, and for having me on this important panel today. So I started politics very young because, as you said, I didn't see someone like me in spaces like politics. So I wanted to feel represented and to also be a representative for the ones that that have no one that can look up to. So I started at the age of 15. I entered a party. And I mean, I will start on a positive note. It's amazing to do politics and to join that early and to be elected at the age of 21 to gain the trust of people. But at the same time, it also means entering spaces that are mainly filled with male men and white people that don't necessarily face the same challenges than women. I'm young. I was a student. I was in high school when I got elected, and this also means to balance both the studies and the mandate. And this, when it came to my professors or teachers, sometimes they wouldn't understand, because I had to do. I was basically a student, and I had to fulfill my tasks like everyone. But it was not always easy, and this is why I always also advocated in school to have active citizenship there and to really talk about how to engage in political debates in school. When it comes to hate, to be honest, the last weeks were quite challenging for me. I was on TV not that long ago in Luxembourg where I was there and I had to face a lot of hate online, and it's the first time where I really started thinking if I should really stay where I am, because it's a lot of racism, a lot of hate, people telling me to go back to where I come from. And
which is Luxembourg, by the way.
Which is Luxembourg, and I'm a counselor in a city called Steinzen, and I always say, I want to stay in Steinzen, and there are no bananas I can take, because this is always the joke some people do, the reference to bananas. So it was quite challenging, and I just say to young people, if I share the hate I face to others, it might create this chilling effect to young people, and I don't want that. I want to tell young people that they belong to the table where the decisions are taken. They really belong there, and we are here to stay. and we don't need to be talked about. Also, during this session, we talk about the importance of young people, about hearing them out. Exactly. We don't need to be talked about. We want to do the talking.
Wow, powerful. We want to do the talking, and I think this is a common point that we have, because when we actually started to work together more than a year ago for We Belong, we found out that this is a common challenge that we face all across Europe, and also the podcast guests face the same. As soon as you're visible in Europe, that's a type of challenge that you face. By the way, I'm very happy to hear from you. We have also a QR code that you could scan if you have some questions. We will take them in the end. Feel free to get them coming. So we're talking about Europe, of course, that is apparently a peaceful country. We don't have a war outside maybe the borders, some countries in the borders, but we need to talk about peace in these countries too. And this is something that we promote at We Belong. But then we have also Leonardo, who comes from Colombia. And Leonardo, you have been living in a country where peace is not a given. You have met and worked with FARC ex-combatant. I'm personally very inspired by your work. And you have been promoting their inclusion and their rehabilitation in society. So I imagine that it takes a lot of courage for you to speak up for peace. Maybe also, for your personal security, knowing that you can become a threat, right? So how did you start, and especially what motivated you?
Yeah, thank you, Jasmine, and happy to be here sharing this panel with two powerful women. Um, how it started was basically through the motivation why we ended up having a war. I think that was the key for me. Why we ended up having to face so much violence and kept doing that for such a long time. And when I started to get to the root of it, it has to do a lot with not being able to see the other, to not be able to accept the other person in their differences. And it was just something mostly happening at a superficial level, because when you start to have a conversation and see what kind of country they imagine, it's basically a very similar country. So to me, when I had the first conversation with an ex-combatant and he was telling me about his life story, Vladimir, he mentioned how he wanted to become a doctor, and he was born in a rural area, but there he has no access to university, he has no access to further education, but he didn't want to abandon that dream, and basically his choice to pursue that was to join this armed group, FARC, and there he could exercise as a doctor. So then you see like how the place where you're born ends up affecting a lot the life choices that you make. But to me, what was really powerful in changing my perspective was hearing, after going through the war, after the process of demobilizing for this group, he said that the kind of country that he dreamed of was a country where no matter where you're born, if you're born in the city or the rural area, if you're born a woman or a man, that you have access to similar kind of opportunities. And that was really powerful to me, because I saw how in his speech, basically I could be saying the same. Just that I was born in the city, I was born in a more privileged background with access to higher education while he was not. Um, and then starting to see that we have this common human sense, that we have some similar ideals that we pursue, but maybe through different means. That became a message that I wanted to let other people experience, to let others know that, well, in the end, we're all Colombians. We were born in this territory. We want the best for our country. And if we can agree on the future that we want, it will be easier to cooperate and collaborate and then build sustainable peace.
Absolutely, thank you. I mean, it's such a powerful witness that you're giving, and especially knowing that your work has actual impact on people that might take a different direction in their life, and in result of this, build sustainable peace in the long term within the country, even though it's a long process and it can be tiring. So I totally appreciate what you shared. As we think about what we just mentioned with you, Jana, about your work, but also what you face and what we found out through the more than 20 people that we interviewed that we belong, people across Europe face on different industries. What do you think We Belong brought you as an opportunity maybe to amplify those voices? And what's your hope for the future? Because we're just getting started here, so please tell us.
Thank you, thank you. First, on a personal level, I didn't expect that, when we started, I didn't expect that it would also be so healing for myself. And I really mean what I say, because I was always to the forefront since a young age. I always spoke up, even if it didn't please everyone. I spoke up. It takes a lot of energy to speak up, to go in front and say, hey, I don't agree, and to face what you have to face in different forms. So We Belong was also for me a space where I could share just my motivations and also what I faced at a young age already with others that would not gaslight me. Gaslighting is when people question what I feel, what you feel. So they would really take it in and understand and listen. And this is amazing. And this is something I've been also at We Belong that we are advocating now, to really have within every organization or company, this inclusion council, where workers, people that are in an organization can go and say, hey, I don't feel that comfortable right now. What can be done to make it better? So for the future, what I hope is to really empower. Not just that, because you need to know that at We Belong, we don't just showcase stories and then generate clicks on it, but we really support our guests when they need it. We give them the support they need in their activism, in their work, etc. So I hope for the future that we empower more people to do what we are doing, because we don't want to take spaces and to just be in these spaces forever and ever, but we want to open doors. We want to open doors, and for that we also started the mentoring sessions that we do with young women all across that can come to us, and we mentor them and we help them taking life decisions in every studies or jobs.
Absolutely. And I remember one of the first conversations we had when we were starting was, we are the first in some field, first of, politics, me first Young European of the Year. So, but we don't want to be the last. People of color in those spaces. And that's a problem that we face a lot, like tokenism, right? Like feeling that at the end of the day, you're just put there to tick a box, and then you don't see more people included. Thank you so much. I will turn to Leonardo for a last one, which is, well, you started at a very young age, and you started your organization, you were a teenager. In the past few years, you have seen a lot. You have been in a lot of places, also internationally. Is there a particular moment in your activism that you want to recall with us and share?
Yes, I believe that a key moment that was also generated through this work between young people and ex-combatants to create this new chapter for our country was when there was this coming together in Helsinki, the first symposium to recognize the role of young people in peace processes. That was something that never was acknowledged before, and we're talking about groundbreaking in different areas. This was that groundbreaking moment of starting to see that, well, if we want to build peace, if we build in countries that have a majority of young people, what makes more sense is that these young people are taking ownership of that future that is going to come. If they don't do it, who else is going to take that role? So I believe that conference was a stepping stone to really start getting more attention in this support that doesn't need to come only in a way of tokenism and saying, yes, young people are important, let's have them at the table, but actually giving resources, creating partnerships, and seeing young people not as beneficiaries of peace, but as active participants of this peace. And speaking of which, second conference of the role of young people on peace processes is coming to Doha next year. So this is a great space also to talk about it, because there's not enough conversations about what young people can contribute. They're normally seen as what we could give to them, but if you give them support, they can be the transformers of society.
Absolutely, thank you. And as you say, we want a meaningful role for young people, not just as beneficiaries, but as active partners. And that's, by the way, how we met each other through this international work. So you have both a local presence, but also an international commitment to drive this change internationally. So thank you so much. We have a couple of minutes. I don't know if there is any question that you would like to ask. If so, you can raise your hand or just write it through the QR code, but if not, I just have one question. So, no questions? Yes?
I have a question.
Please.
For Hannah, I would like to ask, because you said that you were the first, because one of your motivation was the fact that you did not see anyone that you could look up to. Thank you so much. That you could look up to, and I think that's very great that you've been bold enough to do that. And I would like to know if you feel that now that you have experience, that the fact that you are here on politics now, on the political scene, that you are a role model, and that it had given to the young people some motivation to say to themselves, okay, I'm going to be participant, I'm going to take part as well.
Thank you so much for asking me this. Yes, I have young people, young women of color that come up to me and say, I have started being active in European Youth Parliament, in the National Youth Parliament, or in Model United Nations because of you. And it makes me so happy because I follow their work very close, and I also see always the pictures, and we have more and more diversity within these spaces. And I know that I contributed to that. Luxembourg is very small. I was literally the first one to really enter these spaces, yes. And I see more and more people following, and I want them to stay. And for them to stay, they need, you need support. And I'm always there for them if they need support, and I support them. Yes, thank you.
Thank you for the question. Yes, we have one more. Maybe can we take them both, one after the other, so then we can answer them. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much. So you contested elections when you got into politics when you were 21, now you're 26. So if you look back, could you tell us two things which you did very well and two things which now you look back, you probably could have done better?
Interesting. And then, yeah, maybe the second one, because we have just 3 minutes left, so we can reply to them. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this valuable talk. And I have a question for both of our esteemed speakers. My question is, in order to attract young people and make them engaged into your project, what is the legal procedure and administrative procedure you follow so you can connect them in a rather comfortable space and not to be responsible for anything that violates the policy or rules of your country? how do you cover up yourself? Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe Yana, you can start with the first one, and then maybe
Yeah.
you can take the second.
So two things I did well was to really just challenge the status quo. This is something I really managed to do, like question stuff that wouldn't be questioned before. But also I shifted the communication method with citizens. I was communicating a lot with digital means, which my colleagues wouldn't do because they didn't grow up in this with the digitalization I grew up in. But two negative sides, I used to always apologize in the sense that if I couldn't make it to a meeting, I would say to the secretary, like, I would really say, hey, I can't make it because I have an exam in 1 week and it's going to be too much. My colleagues wouldn't apologize. They would just say, I can't make it, I'm sorry, next time, you know? And this is something I really had to learn. But this is also because I have a lot of imposter syndrome. I would always question everything I would do. So this is why I apologized. And also something I could have done better is to not take everything personal. Because even with some hate I faced it's not always about me personally, but sometimes it's also about what I represent in the space. So this is something I could have done better, but I'm getting better. So yes, thank you.
Learn, thank you. And then for the second question, maybe you can take it.
Yeah,
Just the last one, yeah?
Sure. So I think when it comes to creating these safe spaces for young people and creating spaces where, you know, they can freely talk, they can express their views, they can engage and interact, but at the same time, they're speaking on their own behalf. I think as an organization, well, you can do a short disclaimer saying like, well, the views of the people hosted in this meeting do not necessarily represent the views of the organization hosting. But I think beyond that, it's really important to build together with the young people who are participating in this space the rules of interactions, like how do you want to engage, and that you all agree about that, being it confidentiality, being it like being brave enough to defy views that you don't agree with, and in general being willing to really step out of your comfort zone. I think that really helps when it comes to having this diverse conversation and not only creating these echo chambers where you are hearing what you want to hear, but it's good to step out a little bit of that place of comfort and really start to see challenging views that might enrich your view of the world.
Thank you. Thank you for these advices, for this feedback. I think we learned a lot today. And as we close, I have a lot of hope seeing how inspiring you are. Honestly, I really feel it. And thank you for joining us. Thank you for your questions. You can discuss with them after the panel. You feel free to see them, come and see them. And thank you for our audience joining online, and enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Yasmin.